This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Callum Smith up here at the Rotunda Gym in Liverpool. Callum, always a pleasure. It's been a while since I last saw you. I would have preferred this to be kind of on a happier note, but aside from the obvious, which we'll come on to, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. All issues aside, yeah, I'm good in myself, so that's the main thing.
Let's obviously just get straight into that. We had that disappointing news that Artur Beterbiev had to pull out of your fight coming later this month due to a jaw injury. Just kind of your understanding as to what that issue was and what you know about it.
I'd probably know the same as a lot of people. I think we're still waiting for like the medical reasons for it. I think I heard something to do with he had a tooth problem that's caused an infection in his bone in his jaw or something. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of it all. I don't really understand it, but I was just told the fight's off, it's postponed, and we'll wait to see what happens next. It's unfortunate. It could, it's never ideal, but it could have happened 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's happened where I've basically come to the end of the camp, so it's frustrating, but it's the chance to fight for 3 world titles. It's not going anywhere. It's just postponed rather than cancelled. So I've got to just stay positive and say wait to hear what happens next.
What type of communication have you had with Beterbiev's side, and what have they said to you about moving forward when we're hopeful of trying to get the fight on?
Not a lot. I just heard the odd little bits of information. It's going to be, so when I heard it was a tooth, I thought it was going to be a short delay, but they're saying obviously it's an infection in his jawbone, so could possibly be January, early next year, which again is a while, six or whatever months off. So that's not ideal. I've already been out there coming up to a year in August, so it's, like I say, I've got to decide what's best for me, and if it is going to be early in the new year, then maybe try and possibly get it out in the meantime to, I wouldn't even say stay active, just to get back active again, to get back fighting. But it's a bit of a complicated situation. We'll have to sit down. I should know a lot more in the next few days and decide what happens next.
That's going to lead into my next question. You mentioned trying to get active, and you haven't fought since the Joshua Usyk 2 card, or Usyk Joshua 2 card out in Saudi Arabia. With that in mind, it's kind of, you are in a tricky position. What level of opposition do you go in with? You don't really risk the position you're in. At the same time, I don't imagine you want somewhat of a pushover.
Yeah, it's just like, it's hard. I think that's down to the team to decide on the opponent. Obviously, you don't want too much of a pushover where you don't switch on for it, and then obviously you don't. Obviously, I believe I beat anyone in the world, but it just take too much of a risky fight, the position I'm in, and I think I'll know a lot more of what type of fight to take when I realise how long the wait's going to have to be. I don't know. I'm here in January. No, it could be November. It could be Feb, March. I don't know. We're waiting to hear a little bit more concrete information on that, but I've stayed in the gym. Like I said, I've done a full camp basically, so I'm in good shape, and I'd like to put it to some use. Obviously, I was meant to fight in March. I pulled out a week before that. That was on me with my injury, but it's still two camps back to back with potentially no fight at the end of it. So it's not ideal, but I say hopefully we can come to some form of agreement where I can get back active, or Beterbiev's not out too long and the wait's not too much longer to get back in there.
Going into what would have been the Beterbiev fight, there's a lot of talk about whether the timing's right for you or not, and if that time comes, whether it's just one step too far for one of the hardest hitting men in the division. With that in mind, and you look at the injury which he has now, when the fight comes around, does it give you more confidence that with another layoff that he's had to deal with, it could work in your favour?
Look, possibly they say it happens for a reason. I was confident of beating him. I weren't going in there hoping that he'd aged, and that was my only chance. I believe I can beat him regardless, but I think it could be a little bit different now where he's going into the fight potentially a year outside the ring at his age, rather than me going into it with a year in activity. So the roles kind of could switch, could reverse hopefully, and I say they'll probably put a little bit more in my favour. But it's a good fight. It's a tough fight regardless of inactivity or anything, and he's the best in the world for a reason. But it's a fight that I've always liked the chances in. I've always felt I've got the beating of him, and I've had a good camp. Camp's gone really well, to be honest with you, and I'd like to just get the opportunity to become the best in the world and a 2-division world champion, and I will get that chance. We'll have to just wait and see when.
What was the plan for you heading into the fight in terms of how you wanted to go about trying to defeat him? Speaking to everybody within the industry, I think a lot of people expected at some point it would be a bit of a trade-off and it would come down to who was the last one standing out of the two of you.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, look, he's a big lump. He's heavy-handed, and he's quite good at cutting the ring off and making your fighters fight. But I believe I'm a good, intelligent fighter who's heavy-handed, and if I start to be smart and box when I need to box and fight when I need to fight, and just, I've been listening to Buddy and little things we feel away on the night. He's a good fighter, but there is holes in him. He can be hit, he can be hurt, and I've always just had full confidence in my own ability that, providing I get it right on the night, I can go there and take his belts off him and bring him back home. And my outlook's the exact same. We'll start a new camp again, we'll go again, and I'm fully confident that when I do get my opportunity, I will take it.
Seen just on the British scale, the likes of a former campmate of yours, Callum Johnson, hurt and drop Artur Beterbiev. Anthony Yard, when he fought Artur Beterbiev, putting a terrific showing up until he was stopped. When you look at kind of the performances they produced and what Artur Beterbiev was looking like, how much more confidence did it give you that it was the right time and that you would have had your hand raised?
Yeah, I've always said that I've knew Beterbiev a long time, and I've seen him as an amateur. I knew who he is, but I know how good he is, I know how heavy-handed he is, and his record and his achievements speak for themselves, but I've never watched him and thought he was unbeatable. He is there to be hit, he can be hurt. I've seen him put over twice, so the media and the public like to create this invincible monster when, look, he might be a monster, but he's not invincible, he can be hurt. So it's, when you see someone else do it, it gives you full belief that I can do it myself. I'm confident in my own power, my own abilities. So when you see other fighters have him over and have him hurt, then it definitely gives me more incentive that I can go in there and do a better job and finish the job and get the job done. And I say I had a good camp. I have all plans and goals to go in there and do it. I think I'll just have to wait a little bit longer to get my opportunity.
Obviously, you've got Buddy who's over here at the minute. You're spending your camp over here in the UK as opposed to travelling to America. What was the thought process behind that?
It was just a bit of both. I started off over there. I'd done 4 weeks over in America with him, and then we come back over here for the last 6 weeks or so. And obviously he's training Dillian Whyte as well, so they were over there in America with us, and they come back at the same time. And he based himself in Manchester. I'm in Liverpool, so Buddy trains me in the morning, and then Dillian trains at night time. So Buddy's been doing a lot of commuting from Liverpool to Manchester, and I think he's earning his money. But it's been good. I've enjoyed the camp. I enjoy going over there. I enjoy coming back here as well. This is where the class is home. I'm training alongside my brother Liam and other fighters in the gym, so it's a good atmosphere, and I believe it brings out the best in me. And like I said, we did have a good camp, and hopefully we can put it to use somehow.
Who's footing the bill for all that travel?
I think it's a bit of both. We get him over there, who pays accommodation, and luckily there's John there who helps out with Joseph and Declan. He lives in Manchester, but he's an assistant here, so he gives him a lift here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that saves on the train fare as well. So, but no, I think it keeps him busy. Normally he trains me in the morning, and then he's sitting in the hotel room all night bored. So he's up in Manchester training Dillian and a few of the other lads. There's Khalil. There's a few over as well. So I think he's quite busy, but I don't think he's having any other way.
Just sticking with your division, a man that Buddy works with, Boat-Azeez, just had a fight with Joshua Buatsi, announced a man who you'd previously been linked with, potentially facing off with. Have you ever crossed paths with Dan in the gym? Have you ever shared any round sparring?
Never sparred, but I've been in both times. Last 2 times I've been over to America for the March fight, and for this one, Dan was over there as well training. Yeah, I think he had a fight in Paris, didn't he? But he was over there. He's a good lad to get on with him. We've never actually shared any round sparring, but I know him and Buatsi have shared a lot of round sparring, and they both probably take positives from it. They both probably fancy it, and both believe they'll come out on top. But it's a good fight, it's a good evenly matched fight, and it's the fights that, as a boxing fan, they're the ones you want to see. There's a bit more, both local lads, there's a bit more meaningful behind it rather than fighting someone not a lot of people have heard of. So I think it's October, is that correct? Yeah. So I say may the best man win. The winner puts himself in a very good position moving forward.
Is there anybody who you do slightly favour in the fight? Heading into it, people seem to just slightly favour Boat-Azeez now because of his kind of run of wins, and Joshua Buatsi not necessarily looking good against Pavel Stepan.
Yeah, it's. I think Buatsi's the one with the potential and the hopes of going on and probably achieving more in the career, but like I say, he has plateaued out a little bit. He has been a bit inactive and didn't exactly set the world alight against Stepien, but Boat-Azeez is on a good run of form. He's had a lot of momentum since going to boxing, and I think you know British, European, all back to back, and he's the man in form, and sometimes the man in form's the man who you favour, but I think it's pretty evenly matched. Obviously I spoke to Buddy over the spars, they know how they went, and I believe they were good spars to watch, so it should be a good fight. I think whoever gets it right on the night will come out on top, but I think, like I say, Buatsi's got the potential, the star quality, but Boat-Azeez has got the momentum and the form, which is a big thing in boxing.
Moving away from that one, obviously you got Liam who's just finished off a round of sparring. How's he looking ahead of a Eubank Jr rematch?
Yeah, he's looking good. He's back to where he was. Obviously, he had the back injury that kept him out for a few months, and it was frustrating for him. He wants nothing more than to just get back in there and carry on where he left off. But obviously, things happen in boxing. He had a little injury. He had to make sure that was taken care of first before starting camp again. But he's bang in the middle of camp now. He's sparring well. He's doing everything correct, and we believe the best version of Liam turns up, then we get the same result.
Eubank Jr did the rounds with the media yesterday over Zoom, and he's adamant that he can kind of reverse the result of what happened in the first fight and not just get his hand raised, but he thinks he can stop Liam. Do you think he'll have any doubts in his mind though as to how the fight will play out, and when he does feel Liam's power again, he might creep back into his head how the first fight finished?
Look, possibly. I've never been there. I've never been back in with a man who'd knocked me out, so I don't know what the mental. I can imagine it to. No matter who you are, you're a human being, and if you get back in the ring with someone who's last time you faced off with him, he knocked you out for the first time as well, it's got to have some form of effect on you. But no, he must fancy his chance in the rematch because there was other fights there for him. He didn't have to take it, he chose to take it, so there must be something that he feels he correct this time, and rightly so. He's a fighter man. You've got to go in there believing you win. But vice versa, Liam knows he can do it now, so I think he's got that little bit more belief that there's believing you can do it and knowing you can do it, and Liam's got that knowing he can do it now, so providing the best version of him turns up, it should be another exciting night for British boxing, hopefully with Liam Smith win.
From your standpoint, how will the rematch play out on September 2nd?
I don't know, because I didn't expect the first one to go as dramatic as it did. Obviously we have full confidence in Liam getting the win. I didn't think he'd blow him away in 4 rounds, so you've always got to expect the unexpected in boxing, but I think Liam's got a lot more confidence in his power this time round, and he always felt he was good enough to beat him in a boxing match and beat him over 12 rounds. I think now he knows he can hurt him at each point if he lands right, so Liam's just got to expect the best version of Eubank like he did first time round, and providing he does that and the best version of Liam goes in there, then we're fully confident as a team and as a family that Liam Smith's the winner again, and he can push on and move forward for bigger and better things.
What did you make of Junior announcing Bomac as his trainer, and also announcing it only a month before the fight?
Yeah, look, announcing a new trainer is not a bad thing so close to a fight. He might be a good coach, but he's not a miracle worker, and there's not a lot you can do within a month. It's a short space of time, and I think the problem with Junior over the years has been he could have any coach in the world, he doesn't really listen, so it doesn't really matter what advice he's going to get. So we'll have to see. I don't know how much work he's done with him, as he announced it now, but he's been working with him for it.
He said to me that he's only spent last week doing bits and pieces with him, obviously when Bomac was out there for Terence.
Yeah, see, well, that could have more of a hindrance, because you could be trying too hard to learn stuff, and then you end up a bit like what I feel he was last time, stuck between styles. So what Roy Jones was trying to tell him what he does best, and it could be the same thing this time round. So time will tell. Bomac's a good coach. Obviously, the proof's in the pudding with Crawford. Whether he can do a lot in 4 weeks, we'll have to wait and see.
Just a couple of fights to get your thoughts on before we wrap this up. Old foe of yours, Canelo, facing Charlo. It certainly surprised people when he got announced. What are your thoughts on it? Do you rate Jamal's chances moving up 2 weights?
Yeah, I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a very big light middle, so he's basically a middleweight, and he's a decent size as well. So I don't think that, although Canelo's 2 weights above him, I don't think he'll look 2 weights above him. I think they're pretty evenly. I think an old picture come out of them where Charlo's massive to him, so I think naturally there won't be much size in it. Charlo's a good fighter, obviously he's an undisputed champion. I think there's still a lot of question marks on, is Canelo starting to dip a little bit in his performances, and I think if that is the case, then no, I think it could be a good fight. The best Canelo should have a little bit too much for Charlo, but timing in boxing's everything. The timing could be right, but it was outside the box. I think everyone assumed it was going to be the bigger Charlo, and obviously it was the light middleweight one, but it's not as a mismatch that people think a light middleweight against a man who's been a light heavyweight world champion. I think size-wise there actually won't be much in it come fight night.
And obviously you had Terence Crawford versus Spence Jr over the weekend. Terence with a pretty dominant display out in Las Vegas. What did you make of that, and is he now your pound-for-pound number one?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously the week before it was a new age pound-for-pound number one. That was short-lived, but I just think what Crawford's done, the he's a 3-weight world champion, 2-time undisputed champion, and just to beat Errol Spence, who was in most people's pound for pound top 10 as well. I think you've got to go off the competition you beat as well, and the way he done it, I do think the weight probably hurt Spence a little bit, but the way Crawford went about his work and the way about his business, and it's just a, you know, you're watching a very, very special fighter performing to his absolute best as well, and it was a joy to watch, and it's exciting to see where he goes from here. I think he's probably been a little bit, not underrated, but underappreciated. He probably hasn't been the household name that he deserved to be for his abilities and his achievements, and I think now you're starting to see it, and it'll be interesting to see what's next for him.
Callum, we'll wrap this up there and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, go home and have a quiet and chilled weekend. Thank you for speaking to me and I'll catch you soon.
No worries, mate, thank you.